Okay, so up next is Repl.it. We have Haya Aoudeh. She's the designer and co-founder of Repl.it. We have Amjad Mas'ad and Faris Mas'ad. You're not coming. Okay, just Amjad then, who's also the co-founder and the CEO of Repl.it. Okay, yeah. Do you guys want to start? Sorry.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you. Hello, everyone. Excited to be here. Can we get another mic for Haya, or it's on the table?
Hello.
Okay, cool. All right, so we're the co-founders of Repl.it, and we're here to talk about our story. So it starts in Jordan, in Amman. I was going to the University of PSUT in Jordan, Princess Umayya University, and every time I go to class, I have the same problem, which is if I'm trying to do homework, if I'm trying to do any kind of programming, I'm spending half my time setting up the development environment. I'm installing the IDE, the interpreter, the packages, and then figuring how everything works together. And that became such a huge burden, especially if you're someone who's sort of trying to practice programming all the time. And so around 2008, 2009, I had this idea of like, why can't I open a tab and start coding? Like right now, you can open a tab and do anything, right? You can start a Google document, you can start editing a video, you can start posting on social media. You can basically do any creative task from your browser. And this has created such a fundamental shift in productivity. And so I thought that coding is something that should follow suit. Turns out it's an incredibly ambitious project. I didn't think it was that ambitious, so we started working on it in 2009. It took us about 2 years to get to a working prototype. At first, I was working by myself. Then I recruited one of my friends, Max, and here I am in the background. This is actually at an ACM programming competition in Beirut. And so this was us sort of coding all the time and having the same problem every time. Do you have the environment set up? No. Do you have it? Maybe, let's check. Oh, wrong version, error, what have you. And so this is how we started thinking about this problem and started working on it. Our first attempt was to implement all the programming languages we can implement and just put them in the browser. Turns out this is a long project that would have taken us years to implement every programming language in the browser. And so our second attempt was to actually automatically compile programming languages that generally don't run in the browser and put them in the browser. And Max and I got a working prototype. The problem is that it was ugly. And so if you're engineers and you're coders and you're trying to build something, usually you're not paying attention to UX and UI. So before we got our first prototype, which was looking much different than that, Haya came into the picture. And so
he's like, I need a logo. I was like, what is the logo for? It's like, it's a techie thing. I'm a designer. I come from a visual design background. He says it's called Repl.it. So, okay. And then the very first thing that comes to my mind is like a water ripple. Like when you, like a drop of water and everything ripples around it. And then I started from there and I created the logo. I had no idea that it's like a read, eval, print, loop, and it's a programming language. I had zero experience in that, super beginner mind.
yeah, it's actually, it stands for this program on my t-shirt, which is the idea is that there's a program that allows you to write programs interactively, which is called the REPL. read, eval, print, loop. Haya came to it from a point of like, this sounds like a REPL, like a drop. But I really liked it because there's actually, if you look at the logo, there's a loop element to it. And then you have the interpreter in the middle kind of looping. Our first attempt actually had no editor. It was only the console, which is the left-hand side. And then with Haya's help, we got it to a point where we had the editor on the right and the console and the output on the left.
Like, what does Repl.it do? What does it do? What does this mean? What does it do? It's like, oh, we write code here, and then what happens? So that was like, again, I was like visual designer, no experience with programming or user experience design. I didn't know that user experience design exists, actually, but I had the mindset for it. So it's like, okay, this should be here, this should be here, what is the goal, And then, yeah.
Anyways, we released it. We didn't think it was a big idea. We put a lot of nights and weekends into it, but we didn't think it was going to be something that other people, a lot of other people would find very useful. We released it on Hacker News, and the first day we had 80,000 users. Our servers were not just melting, they were just going crazy. And just trended all over the web. The inventor of JavaScript tweeted about it. People were talking about it in conferences. Little did we know we had a huge technical achievement. We were able to invent something that wasn't possible before. And with it, it started a whole new industry. Before I get into that, this is Haya and I. Actually, we were friends before working on Repl.it. And just like, I think one part of the story is family and friends. Now we're husband and wife. And so, working on a problem with the people you love is probably more interesting than the problem itself, and it's more fun and more rewarding. I don't know why this picture is so pixelated, but so one of the companies that was started, so Repl.it was open source. In 2011, we open sourced the project. And there was a whole industry of learning how to code online started interactively. And Codecademy was the most famous of them. And our open source technology actually powered Codecademy, Udacity, and a few other companies. So I joined Codecademy as the founding engineer in 2011. This picture is taken from the Apple website, and Apple was sort of, I thought it was a good picture, but it's so pixelated here. There's an arrow at me there, but basically Apple had like highlighted, Codecademy was such a big success that it highlighted this, there's the startup, and so I decided to take this picture. I worked at Codecademy for 2 years. While I sort of liked the mission there and what we were able to achieve, I was not really satisfied with where we stopped. We stopped at sort of the thing that we started with, which is just putting up a website where people can do some small programming exercises. We wanted to go a lot further. And so we sort of abandoned the project. We didn't look at it for years, 2011 to 2015 maybe.
People send us emails and letters, oh, thank you for this product. And we're like, oh, we haven't touched it for a really long time. And when I moved to New York and joined Amjad at the time when he was on Codecademy, lower it? Okay. Yeah. I went for General Assembly for user experience design. And then I was like, I think I need a project to work on, because after you attend these boot camps, they promise you with like a job, like a great job. So I interviewed for a really long time. I kept interviewing for like a year or so. Facebook, Google, like you name it. But I never had the chance to get an offer. And I was like, there's something wrong. There's a problem here to be solved. So I took a step back with Amjad, and we did our like a mini research. What does it take to be on Facebook or Google as a designer? And then we noticed that all of them, they have side projects. I was like, maybe we should work on a side project together. So brainstorming, we We worked on games. We worked on different side projects that we created, but
Mobile apps,
yeah,
100 things.
it was fun. But then we had this thing that was like lingering there for a really long time, and we were like, that thing actually, Repl.it, has users, and I'd like to talk to them.
So yeah, and in 2015, we moved to San Francisco. I was working at Facebook at the time, and Haya was still interviewing, looking for a job. But part of the reason we moved to San Francisco is because we knew we wanted to start a startup at some point. And what better place than Silicon Valley? And so this is a picture of Haya at Phil's Coffee. So Phil's Coffee in San Mateo in Silicon Valley. And Haya would go there every day in the morning, 10 a.m., and would work on redesigning the website. We had a few features we wanted to add. The website was so primitive, it didn't even have user accounts. You just go there and you just see the environment where you can develop, and that's about it. So Haya started fixing it up, and then I decided to quit my job, and we decided to apply to YC, actually before I quit my job. We applied to YC. This is the video where you talk about your startup to YC. So we applied the first time, we didn't get in. Applied the second time, didn't get in. Applied the third time, didn't get in. I think we also applied a fourth time, although at that point it became very blurry.
And then we had the attitude, you know what? We don't need them.
Yep.
They're gonna regret it.
So we decided to bootstrap. And the way we decided to bootstrap the company, we knew that our future plan was to become a development platform where people can build things. But in the short term, the technology only allowed people that were learning or playing with programming. So we thought our first customers would be educators. And so we went, this is Mountain View High School. We went there, we did user research, we sat down with users and talked to them about what their needs are. And asked them, what is it that should we build for you to buy it and not just use it on the side?
Users don't know what they want.
We actually spent an inordinate amount of hours in classrooms just watching them use the product. And a few things sort of emerged that we decided to productize. So this is also a co-founder, or depending on how you look at it, first employee, Faris, he's over there. So we didn't have money to hire, an employee. So we brought Faris from Jordan. He took a break from university. He was also going to PSUT. He was my younger brother. He is my younger brother. And this is his favorite sort of working posture. Still is. Is it like on a couch? You don't know if he's sleeping or programming, one of the two, or two together, you never know. And so Faris joined us, and we started working in what became Repl.it Classroom, our first money-generating product. And so this is Faris and me from childhood. This is me on the nerd-looking guy on the left, and he's in the middle. So then, as we sort of became a company, we left home where we were working, and we went to a co-working space. And this is Haya in the first sort of co-working space. This is Faris as well. You can see the same posture sort of repeats. This is our first employee, an actual first employee. By that point, we had actually a product that people were using. This is a picture of Mountain View High School, our first customer, that were actually paying us money. And this is a classroom where all the kids are using Repl.it to learn how to code, which was a nerve-wracking experience to go watch. Like, Haya likes to watch users use the product. I hate it. For me, it's agonizing. Every time they hit a bug, I'm like dying inside. And so, but it was such a worthwhile experiment to do. Every time, we spend a lot of time with our customers, probably more time with our customers than us like programming and thinking about the product. And I think that was part of the reason why this product was successful. And it sort of started spreading like wildfire, Repl.it classroom, and more and more classes and schools and high schools and different people started using it. This is our first real office. We moved out of the co-working space, and this is an office at Market Street in San Francisco. It is a great office, and we're proud of it. But it was $1,200, which is nothing in San Francisco. $1,200 doesn't get you a studio. So it was basically in the ghetto. Every day in San Francisco, we would hear people shooting drugs in the back alley, and people fighting, and people. we were so much dying to get a real office that we sort of got even the crappiest office, and we were happy with it.
So that was in Tenderloin, and it was like very, very intense area, but it feels like we paid our dues as a struggling startup trying to make it in Silicon Valley. So, yeah.
So now our Y Combinator journey. So as you may remember, Y Combinator rejected us 4 times. Now one day in November last year, November 2017, sorry, 2 years ago, November 2017, I get a message from Sam Altman. Sam Altman is the president of Y Combinator. A Twitter DM, I follow him on Twitter. And it says, hey, my name is Sam. I run Y Combinator. I'm wondering if you want to meet. And I'm like, I'm waking up, kind of rubbing my eyes. I'm like, hey, is this real? What does he want? So I go meet him. I go meet him at OpenAI, his startup with Elon Musk. And we sat down, and he said, actually, Paul Graham found on Hacker News. The day before, we were on Hacker News, and we make it there very often because people like our product. And he wants to talk to you. However, Paul Graham is retired now, and he lives in the suburbs of England. So you can only talk to him via email. And he sends an email maybe once every 2 weeks, and that's it. So I started a sort of a pin relationship with Paul Graham over email, and we spoke for 2 months. Back and forth emails, and Paul Graham is known for his long essays, and his emails, if you've ever read any Paul Graham essays, his emails are exactly the same thing. There's like very high-level, almost prophetic-sounding emails that you have to sort of do hermeneutics on to understand. Finally, they asked us to do YC. At that point, we didn't really need it. We're approaching sort of profitability, and we were scrappy, and we had some angel investors. We did a pre-seed round. We didn't know that we really needed YC. So Hai and I took a long time to decide whether we wanted to do YC. We decided just the day before YC started. And and I emailed Sam and I said, okay, maybe we'll do it. And he said, okay, but you have to interview. I didn't know that was part of the deal, that we had to interview, because they invited us to do YC.
You asked us to join.
You asked us to join.
We're not interviewing, but fine.
Yeah, he says, it's only a formality, come and it's gonna be fine. And he says, fill this application. So Hai and I, last second, filled the application for the 5th time, kind of hating it. This last time, we're just done with it. And when it came to the video, I was like, do you want to record a video? I'm kind of sick of it. Like, I don't want to record a video.
He copy-paste this link, and I was like, what is this link? And he's, it's a song. It's like, what is this song? And he plays this song, and it was...
It was Rick Astley's song.
And I laughed so much. So if you're not familiar with what Rickrolling is just a behavior on the internet. It's kind of memey. Like, hey, this is the best application ever. And then they put this link. And then you click on this link, and this song again, and again, and again. So it's just like, it's a meme.
Yeah, so I thought it would be fun to just put a Rick Astley song in there, just because we're already in.
And it was funny. It was funny.
So we go to YC the next day for our interview. They make us wait a couple of hours, and then we walk into the interview room, and there was like all the YC sort of celebrities. You had You had Gustav, an early Airbnb employee. You had Adora Chang, a founder, legendary founder. And you had Michael Siebel, the CEO of YC. And so we shake their hands, and when I shake Michael Siebel's hand, I feel a tension. He sort of, clanged my hand like that, and it was like a very sort of experience where he's like looking at me, he was like, good to see you, very angry. And before we sat on the chairs, he like got up and he's like, I want to know, why did you recall us? And he's like a big dude, right? And I thought he was going to fight me. And I'm like, I don't know what to say. We didn't have time, and I thought it would be a fun thing to do. It's like, no, that's not funny. People kill themselves to get into YC. This is not the best way to get into YC.
Didn't you put your faces on there? That's what he said. I was like, dude has a point.
I'm like, yeah, you have a point. I'm sorry, I don't know what to say. And the interview started. And they start hammering us with questions left and right. We thought we were not going to get in because it was a tough interview. At one point, I had 2 people asking me questions at the same time. And so Haya and I leave the room.
We left the room, we were like, fuck this shit. Who needs them? I mean, we're going home. And then
We called an Uber.
Amjad calls an Uber, and then his phone rang.
And it's Adora Chang on the phone. It's like, hey, you got into YC. And I'm like, are you sure? It's like, yeah, you got into YC. Come back. Dinner is tonight. And so we went back totally disoriented and walked into this like big orange room that is YC and sat with the other founders. And everyone been there preparing for months, and everyone has been, knew they were already getting into YC, and Haya and I totally oblivious of what's happening. So we do YC, and one of the things that is really good about YC is how everyone around you is working really, really hard. Nobody's taking weekends off. Nobody is sleeping 8 hours a night. Everyone's just sort of killing themselves. And we thought, okay, this is going to be 3 months. We got to get a lot done in this 3 months. So we took our product from basically just a simple editor and a console output, and we made it into more of a development platform. Now it could do web hosting, it could do web development, it could do game development. There's a recent release of ours where you could do game development on our platform. We have a game jam going right now as well. And we started growing really fast. We sort of, anything else you want to say about YC? We finished YC top of our class, whatever that means. And we go and start fundraising. So I somehow got a meeting with Mark Andreessen, the founder of Netscape and now Andreessen Horowitz. And we go to pitch Andreessen Horowitz, and this is the picture from outside his home. I thought it'd be rude to just take a picture of him straight up. So this is one of the richest places in Silicon Valley. It's Atherton, and all the sort of palaces there. And when I got the connection to Mark, he invited me to his home. So I go to his home, and we spend 3 hours eating brunch together. And it was the most horrifying 3 hours of my life because I didn't know why this billionaire wanted to spend 3 hours with me. And we talked about everything but our business. We talked about politics, we talked about life, we talked about everything, but we didn't really talk about our business. Later on, we did talk about our business. They invited me to pitch the entire A16Z team. And we ended up raising $4.5 million from Andreessen Horowitz. And at the time, we announced that we had 1 million monthly active users on our website. That was October last year. One way we thought it'd be funny to celebrate this is to go to Vegas and work on a big release for our project. So we had grown the team to 6 people at the time, and this is us, and we took a private jet to Vegas. It wasn't really private. There's like a company that sells you cheap tickets for a semi-private jet to Vegas. So we're like, we're gonna live large and it's gonna be a private jet. So we went to Vegas and we did a big release, and which had a lot of hits. And now, just to start to conclude this, this is our office right now. It's sort of a big office that could potentially fit 20 people. And we're starting to grow the team and the company and the business. We're now nine employees. We were 4 in same time last year. So we more than doubled the team. And now our product is growing again, and it's been a really long journey, but I think we're only just getting started.
Yeah, we are getting started, and I just want to say that it doesn't matter what everything, the people around you, what they think about what you do, and your ideas, as long as you set your mind into it. I loved how everyone mentioned where they come from. Where we come from, no one knows what entrepreneur is. No one knows what a designer is or what they do. They're like, what do you do? I'm like, I'm a designer. Like, what does that mean? It's like, yeah, internet. Internet. But now they relate more to what we do. So this is like one insight that I had working on Repl.it for a long time now.
All right. Thank you so much.
All right, we're going to do a few quick questions, and then we're going to move right into the pitch competition. So questions for the Repl.it founders. All right.
I generally think it's awesome when working with family works out, or working with people who are close to you works out. So how do you guys generally manage not getting a professional and personal relationship conflict?
I don't think we do. Actually, I think we're all in. Sort of our business and our life is kind of intertwined at this point. I think this idea of work-life balance is sort of a new invention, and people have always dedicated themselves to their work, and you can enjoy your life, and you can have some time to rest, and you can go on vacations, but I don't think it's a dichotomy. People life and work. It's why is it separate? You spend at least 50% of your time at work. Isn't that your life? And so I don't think they're separate to start with. Makes it closer. I think if you spend not only if you spend the 8 or 10 hours you spend every day alone, separately usually, you spend them together and you're building something together, you know them more. Most people, when they go to their jobs, they have their separate lives at their jobs, and then they come home and maybe at dinner they share some experiences, but for the most part they don't know how they sort of interact in life and interact with other people. When you're working with your spouse, you sort of know them inside out, and I think that makes you closer.
All right.
I can give you an example. When Amjad, he was working at Code Academy, I wasn't in tech or being an entrepreneur. He spent so much time, more than 14 hours, 20 hours at work. I didn't understand what he was doing at that time. But now I know. I have more empathy. I relate more. I connect more. So it makes more sense.
We have one question here. Oh, never mind. All right. We can do one last question. All right.
Yeah, great story. Thank you for sharing it with us. I just have a question. You put up a slide on what the product looks like today. What is it? Where does it go from here? And what's most successful about this new interface today versus the original one?
So I think the thing that makes it really special is how in traditional development environments, you have to spend a lot of time setting up before you build any big project. And the bigger the project, the more time you have to spend architecting the project and making decisions. With Repl.it, you can actually take an incremental approach. You can start very simple, but the interface sort of presents itself as you need more power. So it starts very simple for people who are learning, and then there's an incremental path to becoming developers. So we have people starting as students to actually becoming developers making hundreds of thousands of dollars, or entrepreneurs building businesses. So we see a world where there isn't as much friction, kind of like how Mubarmij's vision is like usually there's this dichotomy between learning and building, and we're trying to bridge the gap and actually make it so that you're learning as you're building. And we can get more people into programming if you sort of make that possible.
All right, thanks so much. Let's thank them for joining us.